All right. Welcome back to the Rebel Tribe podcast, where we have real conversations with women who are building lives and voices on their own terms. Today's conversation is one I think a lot of you are going to feel in a very real way. I'm sitting down with Coleen Huebert. She's a board certified naturopath, a mold illness survivor, and someone who has walked through some deeply personal health challenges, not just for herself, but with her family as well. So now she helps women who are dealing with things like brain fog. I have that, is it? No. I think that's an age thing. Fatigue, anxiety, all the stuff that doesn't just affect your body, but your confidence and honestly your sense of self. So what I love about this conversation is that it's not just about physical healing, it's about energy and learning how to come back to yourself after life knocks you a little bit sideways. So let's
Hmm.
get right into it.
Yeah,
Colleen, welcome, welcome.
thank you. So glad to be here.
So just tell me a little bit about your story. I mean, what happened? What started this whole journey for you?
Yeah, well, we moved into a house 8 years ago. Then it was a foreclosed house. So it had sat empty for 4 to 5 years in bank litigation. And we knew it had mold in it, but at the time we didn't know how bad that would be for us. Um, and so we followed our home inspector's instructions and we put hydrogen peroxide on what we could see in the basement. It has the walkout basement to it, which now we know are some of the worst places for mold. It's just very humid. I live in Arkansas, so it's humid. And so we treated it the best we could. We put kills over it, but we didn't actually remove the drywall. And we had removed some flooring, but didn't realize that there were some cracks in the foundation. So over those 8 years, there was mold that grew on the back side of the drywall, all throughout the basement. And then we had three places where our foundation was leaking, just just a little bit of moisture, enough to mold, not flood. And so a little over a year ago, we were all pretty sick. Like I noticed, I became a naturopathic doctor in 2020, and I noticed a few years ago that we had mold that kept showing up on our bioenergy scans because I do bioenergy scanning now. And but we didn't know where it was. Like our house didn't smell moldy, it didn't seem moldy at all. But we just had these symptoms that wouldn't go away no matter what I tried. One daughter had a lot of like hormonal, emotional type symptoms. It really affects her brain a lot. The other daughter was having more respiratory symptoms. She was diagnosed with exercise induced asthma, which was not, it was mold induced. Because once we found the mold and we contained it, her coughing stopped within about 48 hours. And we had I had skin issues. My husband had a lot of back pain, some urinary type issues. And so it was broad scale, but I kept chasing all these symptoms down. Well, when we found the mold, we contained it, we remediated it, and after that really started to feel a lot better. So realized that's what it was. And so now I'm on a mission to help people heal from mold exposure and mold illness. Yeah.
I can't imagine what that must have been like. What was it like as a mom to be watching your kids go through all of that and not know what, not
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize the connection as strongly as it was. But one of my daughters has severe ADD, and she had it before we moved into the house. But once we moved in, looking back now, that year after we moved in was really hard for her. Like her ADD got tremendously worse, which I attributed to like hitting puberty and hormones changing. But I didn't know that mold exposure could do that. And she always told me, I don't want to go in the basement. Like, I don't like doing my laundry because I don't like going in the basement. And I was like, what's wrong with going in the basement? It's not like the old basements that were just really dark and musty smelling and yucky. She's like, I don't know what it is. Like when I can go down the stairs and go to the left and I don't feel bad, but when I go to the right, I I feel like there's like a monster, like there's something spiritual down there. There's something going on because I really feel uncomfortable going to the right of the stairs. Well, it was to the right of the stairs that all the mold existed. And so we realized in hindsight, like that was really strongly affecting her. And that's how I went down the natural path to begin with, because we were trying to treat it medically, like the ADD and some of her symptoms, and she actually got worse. So she ended up not eating because the ADD meds would decrease her appetite. And for her, we have MTHFR gene mutation, so we don't detox well. Um, and so she wasn't moving that medicine out of her body. So she was basically like overdosing on ADD meds. And so she never ate. She couldn't sleep at all. I mean, so eventually she became suicidal. Like it was really, really bad. And so we decided, the doctors and I and her, to just completely go off all meds. So then we were left in this space of like, what do we do? How do we help support her? And the doctor said, just change your expectations for what life will be like for her. It's going to be harder in these ways. And that was very hopeless feeling at that time. And that's when I found energy work. So that's when we found like natural ways to support her health. And that really turned things around for her drastically. She started sleeping again. So then she could heal. She could detox a little bit more. She started eating a little bit, though there was still some stuff left with that took a while to resolve. It's still resolving in some ways. Um, but she's doing so much better. And she can tell when she's in mold. Like we got re-exposed in January and both of us knew immediately. My skin broke out and she came to me and she's like, we've got mold in the house. I was like, yes, I'm aware. Look at my foot. Well, yeah, we've got mold in the house. And so we found it. We were able to get rid of it and we're both doing much better now because we have the tools. We know what to do. We know what to look for now. And so we had a leak in December and we aired out the bottom of the wrap of the studs, but we didn't go all the way to the top. So where the leak started. So we took off the wall in the garage, aired it out, sanded it, and we healed, got better. We know what binders to take. We know how to support our bodies now. So we're just on top of it much faster now because we know, because we have the knowledge and the information to support our bodies. So yeah, it was really frustrating for a long time being a mom who is a naturopathic doctor that can't figure out why these things are happening.
Well, mold isn't something that most of us think of. I did an earlier podcast with someone that actually, I think you know, the mold
Mm-hmm.
dog. And
Yeah. Yep.
so
Lindsay.
Hope the
Yep.
mold dog. So,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, at the end of that, I was just amazed at how much I didn't know about mold. I mean, I thought it was just like, yeah, no big deal. You know, people have mold in their house, and you kills it, or you bleach it, or you do something, and then it goes away, and you're all good. And I was very,
Right. But it didn't work for us, partly because we had the foundation leak that kept giving moisture to the basement. We had dehumidifiers. We were doing all the right things, but it didn't, we needed to remove it and it fixed the leak in the foundation, which we did. And that's when we started to see improvement, right? But we didn't know where to look or how to look. And that's where Lindsay comes in because Hope would have tagged those spots in the floor right away, right? Like, I mean, she would have known and been able to find it very easily. But it was also on the back of all the drywall throughout the basement. So, um, but her husband came in. We didn't have Hope come, but her husband came and did an inspection for us, and he was able to find some of it. But he didn't find the floor because he didn't know, like he doesn't take his moisture meter and search the entire floor to find those spots. But he found some other spots and said, treat this. Well, we found the floor because we were remodeling. So we knew it was there. He's like, yeah, we know it's there. Is there anywhere else? So he found some stachybotrys next to our water heater that came from an old flood that happened. And that's where it was under where the hose from the furnace comes into the water heater closet and drains out there. And So under all of that at the base, because they put drywall in a water heater closet, which is crazy. And they put the drywall against the floor. So it couldn't ever like dry out and air out. It's supposed to be an inch up off the floor, so that air can get into the wall in that way. So we've learned a lot about construction because we rebuilt our whole basement. And so we learned, you've got to take that drywall up half an inch and then not completely seal your baseboards so that air can flow and the walls can dry out when there's moisture, because inevitably there's going to be moisture. So it's just taking care of it well and getting it dried out well.
Well, I really want to talk about how you got through all this. What did this experience kind of teach you about your body that maybe you didn't understand before?
Our bodies are really fascinating and wonderful. We have such an ability to heal. Um, and just when you look at mold illness, it isn't one size fits all, that everybody has the same reaction to mold toxins. Like in my family, we had 6 different reactions to it, in varying degrees. And so it's very complicated, but you can heal it. And the best way is to get out of it or to remove it from your home. That's always the first step. That helped us tremendously. But then I learned about like gene mutations. So, like I said, the MTHFR gene mutation, where people struggle to detox, can have an effect on a lot of people that are in mold because they can't move those toxins out well. There's also HLA-DR gene mutation that prevents, when that mutation happens, it prevents you from recognizing mold toxins as a toxin. So your body doesn't grab those and take it out. And so that's where it's really important to use binders. So not everyone needs binders. About 75% of people, once they're out of mold, they will feel better. That's why it's always the first step to either leave the house that has mold or to remediate it and get the mold out of the house, which is what we chose to do. And then we did binders to help move those toxins out of our body. Because we have the MTHFR gene, probably the HLA gene, I don't do a lot of testing. I just treat it and support our bodies and we heal. And so that's, everybody's different, but our bodies are fabulous and strong and capable. And I also learned through this how much I saw myself as a victim. So I would say things to my friends like, well, we can't do this because of the mold, or we can't, like the mold is, affected our finances. So we can't do this thing. We can't do this thing. Or, I can't go into buildings anymore because I was living in fear. So if I go into that building and it has mold, I'm going to react and feel uncomfortable, and I don't want to do that. And so I learned, like, in all these ways, I was adjusting my life around mold and allowing myself to live in fear of it, that I really had to step out of and go, no, I'm not a victim. I don't have to live in victimhood to this. And we're actually going to flip it upside down. We're going to get this mold out of our house. Like, we have the power and the ability to do that. We're going to, do these things to heal, to help, move beyond this, which is what we have done. So, and even with a setback, like I said, in January, it was frustrating when my skin started breaking out again because I thought I was past all that. But to recognize, no, it makes sense. Like, we had a leak in December. We did have mold grow. My body is reacting to that. And so I can do things. Like, I have these steps that I can take to get back to feeling good, which I am already. So that's, and my daughter's feeling better. Like, we have authority and we are not powerless in it. And so that's like one of the biggest things I think I learned. I learned a lot about houses, remediation, reconstruction. I learned a lot about the body and all the different ways that mold illness can present itself, and how like labs don't show mold illness. So you look fine. on lab reports, blood work, and you don't feel good. And that's a huge indicator you've got some sort of biotoxin illness going on, right? But there's something still going on there. And it could be hormonal, it could be neurological, it could be like sometimes MS is like multiple sclerosis is related to mold exposure. And so it's the neurological symptoms of mold exposure that are showing up there in the body. So there's so many different ways that it can present. So learning about all the different aspects, but also just in myself, learning that, encouraging people out of that victimhood um, that comes where you feel attacked in all ways, but you don't have to stay that way. You have authority, you have dominion over even mold. And so that was a huge step for me personally in healing was that I'm not powerless and realizing that truth. I have power to do something, to change and to heal. Yeah. So I try to teach people that.
It's interesting. How much of healing do you think is physical versus emotional versus spiritual in your experience?
Yeah. Well, I believe they're all intertwined. That's why when you go to someone like me who's a naturopathic doctor, we look holistically at all levels of that. Because I believe that what happens in the spirit affects the soul, like our emotions, our memories, all of that. And that trickles down into our bodies. So I do a lot with the body mind connection with people. Because honestly, many of the people that I work with who have been exposed to mold and are struggling to heal have a tremendous amount of trauma in their backgrounds. Not all of them, but I would say a majority of them do. And so we end up doing a lot of trauma release work to calm their bodies down, and then their bodies are more capable of healing. So there's that connection between trauma and the past and emotions affecting it. And they also get traumatized by the mold experience. I was traumatized by having mold in my house. It made me suicidal at my worst. And so, like, that's a trauma. And I have to heal that and pull out of that and move out of those emotions so that there's space for my body physically to heal. So you can see it both directions that people have a reaction to mold and it develops within them fear and frustration and anger, right? And all because some people have like lost their marriages over this. Like mold is so invasive to our bodies that it creates a lot of conflict when the husband doesn't understand what's going on because men aren't affected as much by mold. I mean, they're affected, but not long term as much as women are. And so they don't understand and they're trying, but they don't get it. Or they're telling their wives, this is stupid, it's all in your head, your lab work was fine. And then the wives are like slowly falling apart, right? And so there creates this a lot of conflict in marriages is what I've seen. And so helping people to understand what's going on so that they can work together. But I think it goes on all levels that there it can affect your spirit. You can get really downtrodden and heavy because you don't know how to move out of it and how to heal. And because sometimes you don't even know that mold's the issue, right? You had a leak, it's under your dishwasher, it's under the cabinets. You don't realize that it's actually mold that is the issue. And so you're just very heavy, very frustrated. There's a lot of stress, angst, and you don't feel well physically, right? So it's going, the physical, I think, creates the emotions, and sometimes the emotions create so much stress that your immune system gets bogged down. And so when you're exposed to mold, you can't heal, right? Like your immune system can't function correctly. So I think they go hand in hand and they're all like intertwined on the spirit, soul, mind, body. And so we work on all those levels to help heal.
A lot of us, I mean, you heard me during the intro say I have a little brain fog and I attribute it to age.
Which it could be.
Yeah.
Yes, that is normal too.
But a lot of us just we deal with these symptoms like brain fog and fatigue and we just kind of push through. What do you wish we all
Mhm.
understood sooner?
To start really listening to the body, instead of pushing through, to learn to listen and stop and slow down. And I struggle with this too. I am not great at this, but I'm learning just as we all are, right? We are bombarded by toxins. So not just mycotoxins, but pesticides, EMFs, so energetic toxins, relational toxins. We can hear way more news than we need to. In today's age, we have way more information bombarding us all the time. And so, learning that when we are struggling more with brain fog, with finding those words, with concentration, with memory, all those neurological type symptoms, when we're super tired, when we're really anxious, that is a sign that we need to slow down, not push through. We need to actually start connecting with our bodies, listening to our bodies, reprioritizing, like, what do I really want to put time and energy into? And setting some healthy boundaries on what you're willing to engage with. Like, what I notice older people, they tend to like let news run all the time in the house, right? Like they're bored, they just turn the TV on, they have the noise going all the time. But I think it would be so helpful to go sit outside for a little bit instead and listen to the birds, listen to the noises that are naturally out there, and just sit on the front porch, watch traffic go by, people go by. That is much better for our souls and spirits than having the TV running all the time, listening to the news constantly and all that input. And so to just really learn where your limits are and start listening to them, stop scrolling, turn off your devices, and just sit and watch the sunset, go for a walk, do these really grounding things that calm your nervous system, step into joy and playfulness and laughter, let go of control so that you can just dance and have fun again and live in this wholehearted way. I love Brene Brown, and I just finished her book, The Gifts of Imperfection. And what she says there, I think resonates with a lot of people. Because I had a conversation in my group support that I do with people where we're talking about how we all struggle to want to control. Because in a crazy, hectic world, we feel safe when we have control. But control is really just an illusion. Like, I can't control my environment all the time. I can't control other people. I can't, all I can do is step back and just be and listen and pray. So when things feel out of control, it's much better to just pray. Just, to I'm a Christian, so I pray to God, but to just stop, just slow down, just be and just let go of the stress. You can't do anything about the war in Iran except contact your senators, right? So you pray about it, you pray for protection, you pray for peace, and you contact your representatives to say, we don't want this, right? And then you have to let it go because there's nothing else you can do. And worrying and anxiety aren't going to help that. And so just, I tell people like anxiety, because a lot of my clients have a great amount of anxiety. It's where there's a gap between what you're expecting and what you're perceiving. And so the bigger that gap, the more anxiety you will have. And if you can bring your expectation down or loosen your perception of what you think is you need to do or needs to happen, then the anxiety goes down as well. And so just looking at expectations and just letting go. And that's something I'm working on. I am not there yet, right? But like we're always a work in progress. And it's okay to not be there because what is there? That's an idea, an expectation of perfection as well. And so just letting go to just flow with life, to just trust God that He's in control. So I don't have to be, helps tremendously. Learning to listen to Him and just follow Him. So that's what I wish I would have known 10 years ago, right?
When your health is off, like I know I'm a cancer survivor, so I know that when
Mm,
your health is off, it affects everything.
right.
So how
It's
does
easy
that
to move into fear,
exactly? How
right?
does that impact our sense of our sense of maybe self-worth, or just worth in general, our confidence, how does, because we know we're sick, but we still feel, I don't know. I still felt like, I know I'm sick and this is serious, but I still felt like I had to be the mom, still had to be like, it's all going to be fine. I'm going to be good. We're going to get through this. I'm going to be the
Mhm.
strong one. How does, and all I really wanted a lot of times was someone to just hold me and go, it's going to be okay. We got this. How does it,
Right,
so,
right.
how does it impact us as women? How does all of this impact our sense of worth and confidence?
Yeah, no, that's a great question because I see that a lot. And that's because we're driving, like our identity is coming out of what we do. And so we see our worth in our labels and in our productivity. So when we get really sick, that's hard for us in our identity because we can't work the same way we used to. We can't do all the things that we used to be able to do that we gained our worth from. So I'm going to be a good mom. And what a good mom is cooking dinner every night, showing up at all the activities, always being available, being there emotionally, physically, like we have this idea of what that identity looks like. And to be able to set that down and go, actually, like being a mom is showing my kids that vulnerability exists and that healthy boundaries are good and that we can't hold everything up all the time and that's okay. It's showing them that it's okay to rely on other people to help us and hold us and to let go of that control of doing all the things. So it's separating our worth from what we accomplish and what we do, and realizing that our worth is simply in who we are and who we're created to be. It's just in being human that God found you valuable enough to create you and to place you on this earth at this time, right now, for a reason that we might not know or understand. But we have taken our identity and our worth in what and defined it. I'm only worthy, I only have identity if I can be a good wife, if I can be a good sister or a good friend. And I define good in this way. So we do have to kind of redefine what it means to be human and to be good and to be worthy and to realize I am worthy even if I can't accomplish and I can't do. Because when we get really sick, we can't. Like I couldn't function. I'm holding some of that, like I told my husband at one point, like after the sun sets, I'm done. Like I'm not going to be doing dishes. I'm not going to be doing like work. And I feel bad about it because that's what I always used to be able to do. Like that was my catch up time, like when I could enter receipts and do family budget stuff, and when I could do work that I hadn't got done during the day, but I was actually overproducing. And our bodies need to follow a healthier cycle that, like, when the sun goes down, we go down. So it's okay to give yourself permission to just sit and be and read and sit out and look at the stars and just start to like slow down and go to bed earlier. But because we go, our cortisol's off and we can't go to sleep and all this stuff. So to really learn how to like flip that, be productive in the morning, earlier in the day, and then allow yourself time to stop and slow down. I had to set that boundary. It didn't make me a bad person, a bad wife, because I was like, I'm going to do the dishes tomorrow. Right? I don't have it in me to do it tonight. But I had that expectation of myself. And I thought that other people had that expectation of me that they didn't really have, you know? And so letting go of those is really important. And knowing that you're worthy, not based on what you do.
Do you see women maybe disconnect from themselves, I guess, during chronic illness?
In what ways? I think so. I would say yes.
I don't know, just I'm trying to remember my own experience, and I just felt like a lot of times I was just, it's a good way to put it. I didn't feel like me, but not so much in a physical sense. I mean, I
Mhm.
wasn't me, obviously, because I was, but just
Right.
I didn't feel like me, if that made sense. There was a part of me that felt like it was missing, maybe, or
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes.
It was
I
just a
do see
weird
that
feeling. I don't know how
happen.
to explain it. It was just a weird feeling
Right.
I noticed a few times. And
So
then I would
sometimes,
actually, yeah, I would actually like stop this, get up, do the
mhm,
thing. I don't know. It was very odd sometimes how I felt.
right. So I think the term for that is called like derealization. And people do experience that where they actually feel like they're out of their body. Like they don't like the way their body's responding. They don't like, and so some people actually split out of the body and kind of exist outside of the pain and suffering that the body's going through in that chronic illness. Like if you're feeling bad enough, that can happen. And so there's actually like where you feel like you're looking at your body from outside of it, right? So that sort of experience can happen sometimes, but it can be more minor, which is maybe what you're talking about as well, where it's like, I just don't feel like myself. I don't like the things that I used to like. I don't do the things that I used to do. I'm not passionate about anything anymore because honestly, I'm exhausted. I'm too tired because I'm trying to heal and all your energy is going into healing. And so I encourage people to look at your body with grace as much as you can, to recognize that you are trying to heal. And that takes a tremendous amount of energy. And so you need to sleep more. It's okay to take naps. It's okay to be different, but also there are times when you do just need to listen to a song that you loved but before all this happened to help yourself remember and go back to that time. I'm still that person. Like you have to remind yourself, even though I can't do the hobbies that I used to love to do because I don't have the energy to do it, I am still that same person. And when I get better, I will do those things again. So, yes, right now I can't. And to look at yourself with grace instead of like, come on, body, why can't you do this anymore? And being really harsh with yourself, to really speak kindly to yourself, to say, I know this is hard, but we're going to make it through. And when we make it through, we will feel more like ourselves again. Right. You won't be the same person because you've gone through this experience. It will change you. But are you going to let it change you for the worse? Or are you going to choose, like, no, I'm going to be a better person because I've come through this? And I will get back to doing the things that I love doing. Right. So just seeing it as like a bump in the road. And yes, you're not like yourself. And that's really hard. And that can be really frustrating. And you can let it like tank you completely. Or you could say, like, I know this is just a dip. I'm going to get back to being me on the other side and holding on to that hope. And it's really hard to feel that in the midst of it because I've been there. I know. Like last March for me was really hard. That was my lowest point. And to go, like, I did come out of it. Like once you get to the other side, like you are back to being yourself. Like, how do you feel like you regained yourself after having cancer? Or were you able to?
My whole life changed. Okay. I look
Okay.
at that. That's part of everybody's like, when did you suddenly decide you were going to go off and do this thing that you're doing now instead of little Miss Corporate, climb the ladder? And I was like, it pretty much all started. A lot of it
With that
started, and
illness.
some other things happened, but a lot of the process of becoming who I am today started with that illness so.
And you've turned it into good. Like you're helping people and encouraging people. And so you're not the same person that you were before, but
Oh,
it's not bad.
nope. I'm
A better
definitely
version of
not that
you.
person.
Yeah.
But I still remember a lot of it. It was like, man, it
It was
was.
hard. And you can acknowledge that and you can grieve over that lost time, but you can also see the good that came out of it.
So what is reclaiming your energy actually like mean in real life? Because I've heard that a lot from, people that are, I need to reclaim my energy. What does that mean? And I don't want just the buzzword version. What does it really mean, reclaim your energy?
I think that goes back to like listening to yourself, like really looking inward at what you believe, what your motivations are. It allows you, I think being sick allows you to also slow down and prioritize what's important. For some people, it makes their bodies stop, right? there are patterns, there are things that you're doing that are not healthy, that are not good. And when you get really sick, it's your body forcing you to stop and slow down. And so to take that time to really evaluate, what do I believe? What are my priorities? What is important in my life? Um, and to move forward in the things that are important and let go of things that aren't. So I think reclaiming your energy is that reprioritizing of what is really important. What do I want to put my time, my energy, my finances into as I move forward in life? Because what I was doing before didn't work. I got really sick. And so how do I want to move forward now? Um, how do I want to live my life? And for me, I really want to live it out of a place of peace. And so that means for me, I have to prioritize spending time with God daily. That prayer and meditation, that sitting, that listening to Him, connecting with the Holy Spirit is super important because when I do that, I'm more capable of letting go of control, of trusting Him to be there and to provide for me physically, financially, all those ways. And I've seen him do those things. So I have a bigger faith, right? And so my energy is not just coming out of what I do, but it's coming out of my relationship with him and that spirituality that I have, which is super important to wholehearted living, to living life and using your energy in those positive ways where you're loving others well, living in community well, serving, helping, being present right now, because your energy can go into focusing on unresolved issues in the past. And that can suck your energy, right? Because you're triggered all the time. You're anxious all the time. Your energy can go into the future, all the what ifs and anxiety and worrying constantly about what might happen in the future. Um, or you can say, like, I refuse to be stressed about what I don't know is coming in the future. And I choose to resolve what's happened in the past so that my energy sits here in the present right now. I can be fully present in the moment. And I feel like that's really reclaiming your energy to say, I'm going to sit with God, whether that's prayer, meditation, however your relationship is at this time, that I'm choosing to center in right now, to be present to myself. That's the whole idea of grounding is like, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm just going to listen to the birds. I'm going to just be and to calm all those anxious thoughts that run through our heads. Yeah. That's what I define like reclaiming energy is focusing it to now. God, what do you want me to do right now? What is your plan for me right now? Instead of running around trial and error, what are all the things that I think I should do? It's like, okay, what's my next step? It's focused, it's healthy, it's whole.
What are some early signs that, and not maybe just not specifically mold illness, but what are some early signs for women that things aren't quite right? Because there's a lot of things. Okay, I know women's bodies are different, they just are, and there's things that
Mhm.
happen that we ignore all the time that
Right.
really shouldn't. What are some of those early signs?
I think, like you said, like the fatigue, that you're just tired, you just feel heavy a lot. You might have tension. A lot of people that I talk to, they're like, yeah, I got this knot that's been here for 5 years. That's not an injury. You're holding stress. And so learning to listen to your body, to what that knot is telling you. When did it start? What is the emotion? And so it's just learning to pause. So you're recognizing the first symptoms by tension, by feeling off, by feeling depressed, right? Which is just, I think depression is, I define it with my clients, it is a heaviness, like a bearing down on you. You're carrying a lot of weights. And so, what are those weights? And as you learn to set those weights down, the depression lifts, it gets lighter because you're not carrying as much, right? And so, it's that heaviness, that intuition, something's off, but you can't really define it. That's when you need to stop what you're doing, to try to put the brakes on, which I was always scared. I remember telling a friend, I'm on this hamster wheel that I don't know how to get off of. Like life is just so busy and there's so many things going on, and I literally don't know how to jump off. And so we processed that, like, how do we get off? It's scary. There was a fear barrier. Like, I can't just jump off. Well, why not? Because I feel like all of my life will fall apart. Like the wheel will just be destroyed. And I had to ask myself, like, why is that bad? Why can't I let it get destroyed and reconstruct a straight, flat path that I walk down instead of a wheel that I'm running on? Right. And so it's okay to let the balls drop and to not do all the things and to reconstruct out of those priorities what's important for now. And so even some women, like, well, they're so stressed out and they're having all these reactions, they're living in fear because they're like, well, my kids have to do these things. They have to go here, they have to go there. I don't want to mess them up. And I said, well, maybe it's in allowing the busyness that it is messing them up. So let's just like reconstruct, what does our family need to be at peace, to be happy, to be healthy, to be whole? Yeah.
So if someone's listening right now and thinking this this might be me, what's one step they can take today?
To start listening to their body. I think really slow down, stop, and ask yourself, what is it that I need? And be really honest. Might be, I need some peace and quiet. Okay. So, God, how do I put that into my life? How do I make space and time for that? And then do those steps, right? And if you need more support than that, you can always contact me, right? I can help you walk through that, prioritizing, figuring those things out. But that's really is starting to, what is it that we need? Because this is feeling too hard and too heavy. So really taking a step back and looking at your life. That's what I had to do a couple of years ago, is just reevaluate like what is important to me and to my family. And then how do we live that out?
Are there some simple shifts or steps, some daily habits that can start making a difference?
Yeah. I mean, I always encourage my clients, the first thing is to stop and breathe. We don't breathe well. We breathe really fast. And so stopping and slowing down your breathing, breathe out longer than you breathe in. That's really important, because that supports your vagus nerve so that you calm your body. So breathe. Um, like I said, doing those grounding things, going for little walks in the sunshine, just sitting in the sunshine, even. Sometimes we do too much. We're going, going, going. Well, I need to go to walks. I need to exercise. I need to do these things so I can be healthy. So sometimes it's important just to sit and just lay in the sun for 5 minutes to give yourself that little bit of peace. And if you're working all the time, to step out of that work, set down your phone, just be. People often don't like the silence though. They have a really hard time with that, but it's important to like lean into that and to really just ask yourself, like, why am I feeling heavy today? Where's the stress at today? So you breathe, make sure you're drinking lots of water. Water will flush toxins, water supports your brain function. So, really important to drink lots of water, really important to breathe. Those are the two foundational things. And then I also started a gratitude journal. So, writing 5 things down, write them down. Take the time to write them somewhere. 5 things that you're thankful for every day. And don't do the same thing every day. Challenge yourselves to get out and think of 5 different things. So I use my senses. When I started, something that I love the smell of, something that I saw that was beautiful, that I touched, that I heard, that I felt. So I use my senses to help me brainstorm that. And now it comes much easier. And I usually do 10 to 20 things every day that I'm thankful for. And that, Brene Brown says, living a life of gratitude increases joy. So yeah, those would be the practical things to start with.
Makes sense. Yeah, I know. I'm big for sitting on the porch in the summertime. I hate when it gets so cold that I can't sit out on my porch and have my morning coffee. So that's
Right.
my summer routine, coffee on the porch in the morning.
Yeah.
All
Right.
day. So
Yes.
And I can
Yes.
feel the difference. You're absolutely right. I can absolutely feel the difference when the weather turns and it's just too cold to sit out there. And it's like,
Hmm. But you can still bundle up and go out to a degree, right? Like even I love watching the snowfall. You bundle up, put a sun cap on, wrap up in a nice cozy blanket. You can still do those things. You just have to adjust. And it's maybe not as comfortable, and that's okay. You can sit by a fire and do it and just be.
so what
Yeah.
does your version of a healthy, peaceful life look like right now?
Like I said, I'm still trying to figure that out with 4 kids, right? How do I carve that out? But I think a lot of it is spending that time with God every day to anchor and to orient to Him helps a lot with letting go of control and being able to flow more through my day. That this time is his time, not my time. And so I can let go. And when things shift and change and happen, to be okay with it. And at the end of the day, looking back, instead of I didn't get all these things done, to acknowledge the goodness of the things that I did do, the wins of those days helps a lot in my mindset to hold on to that peace. Yeah.
What are you most passionate about helping women with right now?
I help them with the mold illness, helping women heal and help them heal their families. So that would be a huge part of it. Um, and releasing that trauma along the way, helping them to reprioritize, talking them through those, conversations of what really matters, what really is important. I love doing that with people.
And where can they find you if they want to learn more?
The best place is they can go to www.clearmindrevival.com. And on that website is a little bio about me. There's a free training and there's a place where they can book a call with me. I have free discovery calls, things like that. So they can book a little call with me and we can connect and kind of talk about their goals and what's going on in their lives and next steps.
Okay, great. And I will
Yeah.
put links to that in the show notes so you can reach out and connect with her.
Yeah.
Colleen, this was
Thanks.
this was such a I don't know, just powerful conversation and honestly an important reminder that your energy and your well-being, ladies, they're not optional, okay? They're foundational.
That's right. That's right.
So if something in this conversation just resonated with you, if you've been feeling a little off, because that truthfully is how I found my cancer. I almost did not go for my annual appointment because I was busy. I was busy. I was working. I was busy, but I just felt off. I just
Yeah.
feel right.
Right.
And I let people talk me into, if you're feeling this way, then something's not right. You need to go. And yeah, if I hadn't listened to them, I probably would not be here today. So if you've been feeling
Right.
off, if you've been feeling exhausted, if you've been feeling foggy, if you've just been feeling just not like yourself, stop, stop just going and I'll be okay. I'll be
Stop
okay.
pushing through.
Yeah, stop pushing through. This might
Stop
be
and
your sign.
listen.
Yes, this
Listen
might
to
be
your
your
body.
sign. Start paying attention.
There's something going on. Exactly. Exactly.
Yes, so
Yeah.
start asking the questions. And if you want to connect with Colleen and learn more about her work or see how she supports women through this kind of healing, I will make
Mhm.
sure that her link is in the show notes. Also,
Mhm.
if you would like to learn more about mold in general and how to find it and how to remediate it, watch the episode I did with Lindsay and Hope the Mold Dog.
Mhm.
If you want to learn
Yep.
more about breathing, because you heard Colleen talk about breath work, if you want to learn more about breath work, then watch the episode I just did with Diane Thompson about
Good.
breath work and breathing. And as
Hmm.
always, if this episode spoke to you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it, because that's how these conversations reach the women that are out there quietly struggling. And
Yeah.
we'll see you in the next episode.